Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, this is the beginning of quarterback rankings week. We have a marathon of a week coming. We're going to rank the starting quarterbacks in each Power 5 conference. Then we're going to rank the group of 5 and independent quarterbacks. And finally, put them all together for the top 15 overall quarterbacks in the country. But we're going to start with the ACC. Ryan, these are your rankings. So commenters, please have at it. Give Ryan crap for his horrible rankings, I'm sure. But we'll start with the bottom. Number 14 is Riley Leonard at Duke.
I have a feeling I'm not going to get too much crap about putting
probably
Riley
not.
At 14.
Probably not.
I think that's a safe bet.
Maybe from Riley Leonard's mom or something.
Yeah.
Even her's probably like, nah, that's fair.
Yeah, Doris is a tough cookie, so we'll see. All right. Yeah, it's a tough situation there at Duke. And Riley Leonard's got limited game experience so far, and he hasn't even been that impressive in those limited kind of reps that he's got. So 6 yards per attempt, 60% completions, actually under that. Just successful, hard to be successful. And he wasn't a big-time recruit, so you're just not sure about the potential. It's just an easy person to put at 14. Sorry, Riley. And Riley's mom.
Makes sense. Moving on to number 13, a transfer, Grant Wells at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple years back, and we're all kind of excited about Grant Wells because he started off pretty darn good there at Marshall. They were winning some games, and he was doing pretty well, but kind of tapered off since then. Last year, 13 interceptions in 13 games, and he had 9 the year before that and far less attempts. So, if he could cut that number down, he'd be all right because his other numbers are fine. He just throws too many picks, man. You just can't do that. So, if going to Virginia Tech now, it's a tough situation because all of a sudden you're going from Conference USA competition jumping up in class to the ACC, and he's not going to have a super strong supporting cast. So I'm just not sure how he's going to improve much from those numbers at Marshall. So I just couldn't put him there. I think he's going to struggle a bit.
Okay, fair enough. I do think there's a pretty big jump from 14 to 13 there, but like I said, that's fair. Number 12 is a guy who, if you would have told me this time last year that he would be ranked 12th, I would have been completely shocked. It is DJ Uiagalelei of Clemson.
Yeah, this is nuts. I mean, I'm surprised I had him even had him this low, but God, his numbers were bad. He had more interceptions than touchdowns, terrible yards per attempt at 6, completed just 55% of his passes, and he doesn't bring enough on the ground to kind of make up for it, or at least give you something else to, hang your hat on. He was just bad all the way around. You watch him, inconsistent, just didn't push the ball down the field. It was wild. It was ugly to watch, that Clemson offense, and I think he was part of the reason why. So 12th is pretty low for DJ after what you were considering going into next year, but I'm not trying to let kind of the history and potential, I guess, kind of skew my thinking. He was bad.
All right, so if you're this low on him, then how about just put Cade Klubnik as the starter, list him, and put him 8th?
I have a feeling like it's kind of almost the Kelly Bryant phase here where, I mean, even though Kelly Bryant was solid, but Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence, where Lawrence was probably better, but he was just already entrenched and eventually did take over. And my prediction in previous episodes is that Klubnik will take over at some point. I just don't think he'll start game 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And a lot of people, man, you would have thought you would have had him 12th in the nation going into the year, much less 12th in the ACC.
Yeah. No.
At worst, honestly.
Better than that.
Yeah.
Good. Good point. All right, moving on to number 11, we've got another transfer, Garrett Schroeder of Syracuse.
Yeah, although he was there last year at Syracuse. And is he a limited passer? Yes, of course he is. But, he only had 4 interceptions last year. They didn't throw it all that much, but he's not throwing picks when he does. But, of course, Syracuse has got to play to his strengths, which is running. He's a really good runner, tough runner, and he's pretty effective when he's given the chance. Pair him up with Sean Tucker, good running back for Syracuse. That's a pretty good combo that they have. It's pretty, feeling pretty good about his performance. But Schrader ran for about 800 yards and had 14 touchdowns on the ground. So he's got something to go to.
All right, number 10, we have a guy who's going to try to save Jeff Collins' job. This might be his last chance. Jeff Sims at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, he's been doing it. The hype's kind of wearing out on Jeff Sims. I mean, coming in as a true freshman, a good recruit. He was kind of supposed to be the savior for Jeff Collins, kind of build a team around him. It's just been an unfortunate situation for him. I don't think he's that bad of a quarterback, but he just doesn't have the pieces to work with. And when I think about him, it's like he did improve. So that's why I have him at 10th here. It's not like he's dead last or anything. He improved from his first year to his second year. His completion percentage went up about 5%. His yards per pass went up about a half yard, and he threw 6 less interceptions. So there's definitely some improvement, but it's the problem is just his team hasn't really improved. So it's just hard for him to really make all those great strides when I just don't think his team's getting all that much better. He lost his best running back, so something to lean on there is gone. It's just I don't foresee him having great numbers, which is too bad because I'd like to see him get a chance somewhere else.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Akron transfer gets some run at some point. What was his name again? I forget, but he had a really good end to the season at Akron.
You're right, he did. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he got some PT. I mean, I don't think they're going to have a great team, so usually that leads to more than one quarterback playing.
Yeah, this dates me, but all of a sudden when you said Akron quarterback, I all of a sudden thought Charlie Fry.
Yeah, that's it. It's Charlie Fry.
Yeah.
No, Zach Gibson.
Gibson, there it is. Yeah, losing Gibbs isn't ideal. All right, number 9, Kedon Slovis at Pitt.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting one here. A transfer from USC coming in. He's kind of speaking Michael's language here, he's kind of the quarterback version of Lincoln Riley. He got worse every single year, So he was great as a freshman, pretty solid as a sophomore, and then kind of averaged his last year. So, now there's things that happen for that. Injuries, of course. He had some injuries that certainly played a role, and maybe the supporting cast wasn't as good as it had been, but he did have some good guys to throw to even last year. Drake London, first round pick in the NFL. So, anyway, now he goes to Pitt, who Pitt did lose their offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, going to Nebraska, lost by far their best weapon, Jordan Addison, joining USC, Slovis's former school. So I don't know. It seems like a tough situation for him, but Pitt does have a decent amount of production other than Jordan Addison coming back. So I don't expect Slovis to recapture like his first year glory, but maybe the second year glory where he'll do solid.
Okay. Number 8 on your list is a former top 100 recruit, Drake Maye of North Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's the pedigree is partially why I have him 8th in a pretty strong conference, I think, overall for quarterbacks. Just because Sam Howell's gone doesn't mean, this team won't be able to have a strong passing game. I think it could be maybe even better than last year. Plenty of talent comes back around Maye, including Josh Downs at wide receiver, who had over 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. So one of the best receivers there is in the country. And their second leading receiver, Antoine Green, is also back. They have a couple of solid tight ends. As long as those guys don't get hurt, they'll be fine. Because after that, they're really, really lacking depth, which is even a concern just right now. But so if those guys stay healthy, I think they're going to put up some good numbers. And Drake Maye's got a lot of potential. So I think he's going to do pretty well.
Moving on to Florida State's Jordan Travis at number 7.
Yeah. Overall, he had a solid year last year. 15 touchdowns, 6 picks. Plus, he added 500 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground, which is obviously a big help. So to me, the encouraging thing was just his improvement that he made from his 2020 to 2021. And if he can take another step forward with all the supporting cast that he has coming back around him, which I expect he will, he's going to put up even better numbers. Maybe he pushes Florida State to a kind of a comeback year here, but I like the trajectory, got a lot better. I think he can improve even more going into this year.
All right, number 6, you have Phil Jurkovec of Boston College.
Yeah, this one, he was a somewhat tough one to rank just because of kind of last year didn't play a full season. But I'm kind of looking back more towards his first year when he was BC's guy in 2020, and he had a pretty darn good year. And even his numbers last year were solid, even though he only played like half the year. So he has 24 touchdowns compared to 9 picks in his career there at BC, and his attempts are yards per attempt is a little over 8. But the major thing for him you see is when he got injured and Dennis Grizzell came in, just a massive drop off. I mean, it was like, whoa, Drakovic must be pretty good because this team is way different without him. So to me, that it was like full 3 yards per pass less going from Drakovic to Grizzell. That's just an insane amount. So Jurkovec must be pretty good. And I think he is the difference and kind of the indicator of like, well, BC's really relies on this guy. So yeah, I think he deserves of this number 6 spot here.
Yeah, I think he's still got Zay Flowers to throw to also. Number 5, Brennan Armstrong of Virginia.
All right, here is where we get to the toughies, because we talked about this before before the podcast, but like this top 5 is, you could put him any top any way you want. Number 1, number 3, number 5. I wouldn't have any production. You could put Brendan Armstrong number 1, and I'd be like, yeah, I can see you make that argument. I just had to put him at 5 because I had to put somebody there. And I mainly put him there just because of the situation that he's in right now. He had a great year last year, put up a ton of passing yards, 4th in the nation. But Virginia is 123rd in returning production this year, so I'm just not sure of his supporting cast, if it's going to be that strong. And, of course, the new system under new head coach Tony Elliott coming in from Clemson. I think there's just at least a couple excuses I have that I can actually drop him at least a little bit here and put him 5th. He's good, but there's maybe some things that'll hold him back.
Yeah, his talent will be tested next year where he has to.
Yes.
I mean, he kind of carried them last year with a lot of, passing
even
yards.
more
of course,
so this coming year.
Yeah, without that O-line in front of him. We'll see what happens. Number 4, you have Tyler Van Dyke of Miami.
Yeah, great first year here. Starting a lot of the year, throwing 25 touchdowns to just 6 picks, over 9 yards per attempt, and he led Miami to a 6-3 record in the games that he was the main player, the main quarterback. He played like a snapper or something against Bama, so not counting that one.
Don't give him that loss.
Anyways, but yeah, I'm not going to give him that loss. 6-3 sounds better. But his QB rating was actually better than the guys that I have in front of him. So you could make the argument again to put him at number 1, and with some improved supporting cast. But I don't know. I guess I just want to see a little bit more from him here. I mean, that was a nice first season there, but it wasn't a full season. So and it is a new system, so I just want to make sure that he's going to be fully ready to go. But you could put him number 1, and I'd have no problem with it. He should have a good year.
The only thing I worry a little bit about with him, like I'm high on him too. I'd probably have him right around here, but is if guys will step up in the receiving corps, because he lost a couple of his big targets there. They've got talent, but there's no like veteran experienced receivers to go to.
No doubt. A lot of new there. Number 3, DevinLeary, NC State.
Well, he had such a good year last year. In just 12 games, he threw for nearly 3,500 yards, had 35 touchdowns, so nearly 3 a game, and just had 5 picks. So led NC State to a 9-3 season, and it could have been better. They had 2 very, very close losses against Miami and Wake Forest, so they were knocking on the door of being in the ACC title game and maybe going to a New Year's Six bowl. So DevinLeary was the catalyst. I mean, he's clearly the guy that makes that team run there. And if you kind of look the year before, he got injured, which kind of really hurt them a little bit. But man, he came back and had a great year this past year. So, and he returns a lot of production around him. So I see no reason why he wouldn't have another great year.
All right, number 2 is a guy I've always been high on, Malik Cunningham at Louisville.
Yeah,
I've been with him since the McHale days. So, and the Malik days before that.
That was like 3 weeks ago. So
right.
Keep switching. But no, you have been high on him, and he's been great. Underrated nationally for how good he's been. And his rushing stats are obviously the reason why. I mean, he's effective as a passer, but I mean, he's a great runner as well. Now, he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year and had 20 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, that's great numbers for a good running back. I mean, it's just crazy what he's done with it. So, and through the air, he's been good. He was 19 touchdowns to just 6 picks, 62 touchdowns for his career, 62 touchdowns, 24 picks for his career. which actually, if you look at those numbers, it's the exact same as Sean Clifford over at Penn State, but Sean Clifford does not have the electrifying feet that he does, and the yards per attempt isn't nearly as much. So Cunningham's got a huge advantage in both categories, really. But, I look at Louisville and I think, okay, how would they be with just an average quarterback? I just think they would have been really, really bad the last couple of years. I think he is that offense, and without him, they're in deep, deep doo-doo. But I think he'll have another good year because he's good.
All right, and number one. He's good.
It's a great argument.
Good analysis. Number one, Sam Hartman of Wake Forest.
Yeah, I mean, I had to put somebody number one. It was really hard to pick. I almost went Cunningham. I'm almost regretting it, not doing it right now. But, hey, Sam Hartman led Wake Forest to the ACC title game, despite not having a very good defense at all, and also despite not having much of a running game to really work with. He threw for over 4,000 yards, had 50 total touchdowns, and he showed real dual threat ability, actually, this year. He ran for nearly 400 yards and had 11 rushing touchdowns. So he had a great year, and it's going to be his 5th year here at Wake already. And he keeps getting better and better, and he's got a lot of pieces back. They're going to have another pretty potent offense, so I think he's going to put up huge numbers again in 2022. I see no reason why not.
All right, let's get to the full list here. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know your thoughts in the comments below on Ryan's list. Any disagreements or agreements, I guess, but we prefer the disagreements, especially when it's Ryan's list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my takeaway is you nailed it with the 1 through 5. Like, I've never seen a top 5 like this where it's just, I really would have almost no problem with any order. Like, I don't know. Usually we kind of say that and it's like, well, maybe the 5th guy. It's like, no, I'm glad I didn't have to make these rankings because that was hard. But for me, I think DJU, I would have him a little bit higher. I mean, it's defensible because it really is remarkable how bad the stats were last year and how bad he looked
right?
too. Like, it's not just like your run-of-the-mill bad year. Like, it was extremely, extremely bad. But
and on a good team.
We did see that. And though I guess not the surrounding help wasn't great last year. But yeah, I think I'd put him ahead of like Shrader and maybe Jeff Sims just on the potential and just the flashes that he showed us in 2020.
Yeah, those 2 games. It's a distant memory in my head now.
Yeah.
And just to add to that 1 to 5 comment is, I think within the ACC, it's very good, but across the country, I think it might be the best 1 through 5 in almost in any conference. It's just really deep. I mean, when you have Kedon Slovis at number 9, that really kind of shows how deep and how good this conference is at quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's at worst second in as far as the conferences. I think they're in the discussion for number 1. We'll get to later this week who we think is number 1, but ACC is in the discussion. But that'll do it for this episode of the College Football Bros. Give the video a thumbs up if you're watching here on YouTube, and subscribe if you like college football. And we'll be back tomorrow with the Big 12 quarterback rankings. Talk to you then.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.